Jamie, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to get to know you and get to know your followers a little bit more and share my story.
And the audience and me, myself, we're both super excited to learn a little bit more about you and the business and brand that you've built. And before we jump in, I'm going to give a little bit of background so that the audience can get to know you a little bit better. And then we're going to jump into all the things. So Jamie Ortiz is a licensed esthetician and the owner of Espieve, a high-performance, broad-spectrum mineral sunscreen that is smooth and luxurious without the chemicals, which is huge, with your skin to protect from sun damage. And in addition to this, Jamie is also the owner of True Skin Rituals, a boutique skincare studio in Orange County, California. Now, Jamie, I know this is just the beginning of all the work that you do. So can you share a little bit more about your background and the founding behind your company and the work that you do?
Sure, of course. Well, I am a licensed esthetician and practicing skincare professional for over 20 years. And so I like to say that I'm an ingredient junkie and product junkie, but I also do like to practice a little bit more on the holistic side. So I like to take things a little bit more, removing the chemicals and not doing too many things that are disruptive to the skin's barrier. So with that, I have a son and he has eczema, and as a skincare professional, like, I can fix this. I can, figure out how to control this and do this. So I just started to use different products on his skin, and we live by the beach. When it came time to put sunscreen on him, I could not find a sunscreen that was chemical free, that didn't have, don't want to say chemical free, I want to say that didn't have the chemical blockers. So couldn't find something that didn't have the avobenzone, the oxytonoctate, the octocrylene. So any of those, we just couldn't find a nice physical blocking sunscreen that didn't leave the skin white or pasty. Mm-hmm. Or that didn't take 30 minutes to rub into a squirming toddler.
Right.
Because you know how difficult it is as a mom to try to get sunscreen on your child.
Yeah. So, I hear the story all the time.
Yes. So that kind of led me down the road of, okay, there's got to be something. And after going to every shop online, every, aisle in the drugstore and the pharmacy, I just had a box of sunscreen that was in the trash because nothing seemed to work. Mm-hmm. That's what led me to create Espieve, was my son's eczema.
Yeah, that's such a great story and something that we hear all the time. You mentioned the white cast, and that is something that is so huge, especially with mineral sunscreen. And a reason that a lot of people don't like to use it is because of that dreaded white cast that you mentioned.
Yes. And, it really does take time to figure out which formulas and which molecule of zinc or titanium dioxide that you're using in the physical blocker that works well for your skin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such good advice. And for a lot of people listening who maybe think mineral sunscreen and they think white cast, that is no longer the case anymore. There have been so many innovations in sunscreen that I'm sure you can touch on as well.
Yes. And the other thing that is a little, I don't know if you ever talk about organic and inorganic on the label. That's a big misconception. Okay. So organic is actually a chemical. So organic is going to be your chemical blockers, and inorganic is going to be your physical blockers, like your zinc and your titanium. And those are from the earth. So think of inorganic as being those rocks, those minerals. And that's actually what you want to look for in your sunscreen when you're looking for a physical blocker, are those two active ingredients. So don't look on the bottle and be like, oh, it says organic, and think it's good for me. Because when you see organic, it actually means it's a chemical blocker. So that's a little marketing trick that the sunscreen companies try to use on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being able to read a label is something that's really important. We just had a podcast interview that went live today that was all about being able to read labels and knowing which active ingredients to look for.
Yes.
And what they mean. And I'm sure with your son having eczema, being able to read a label is even more important to make sure that you're not applying something that will irritate his skin.
That is true, definitely. Um, yeah, so it was just more, went on the journey and I started researching ingredients and researching different labs and sunscreen labs, actually cosmetic formulators. And that's how I got to where I am with the sunscreen, because I just knocked on doors and doors and doors and sent out emails and reached out to cosmetic formulators and scientists if they could help me formulate something that was quick and easy, that didn't leave the skin white. So yeah, that's kind of how SPF was born.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you really had your list of things that you were looking for when it came to formulating a sunscreen. Now, what really sets SPF apart from other sunscreen brands? I know you have a whole list of things on your website that I was hoping you could walk us through as well.
Yeah, well, like I said, we are physical blocking sunscreen. So what that means when I say a physical sunscreen, that means that the blockers in it, the active ingredients, will actually, when the sun's rays hit your skin, they will bounce the rays off of you. So um, a chemical blocking sunscreen, when put on the skin, when the sun's rays hit you, the sun's rays get underneath and then it's dispersed on the skin, underneath the skin. And that's how the rays are dispersed. So with that, I don't know if you ever have used a chemical sunscreen or a sunscreen with chemicals in it, the active ingredients, and you felt warm to the touch after the sun's hit you. Well, that's a chemical reaction. That's the sun's hitting your skin, the rays hitting your skin, and then the chemicals heating up and dispersing and having a chemical reaction under the skin. So with the physical blocking sunscreens with the zinc and the titanium, they are actually blocking and shielding the sun's rays from you. So that was really important to me to have a physical blocking sunscreen. It was also important that they were photostable. And photostable is designed to resist photo degradation. So when the sunscreen's molecules break down and fall apart, then I say when they aren't photostable, when this UV rays hit it, then the molecules break down when they're exposed to those UV rays. So that was really important to me. And it was really important to have antioxidants in the sunscreen because some antioxidants are photostable and they're enriched with those antioxidants like vitamin E and vitamin C or even green tea extract. So that was really important because antioxidants also combat free radicals that are generated by the UV radiation. So having that additional layer of protection was really important against like the sun's damage and promoting overall good skin health. So those
Yeah,
were definitely important to me.
yeah, absolutely. I was just learning the other day about the importance of incorporating vitamin C and your sunscreen together and how it helps activate some of the benefits of that sunscreen. And well, on top of that, so there are benefits for the sunscreen, but there are also benefits for, your skin as it's aging and kind of reversing those signs of aging and making sure your skin is aging youthfully.
Yes, and the sun is responsible for 90% of the visible signs of aging. So why not help maintain the skin's youthful appearance by having those antioxidants, having a photostable sunscreen, and it's going to help firm the complexion, reduce appearance of fine lines and wrinkles at the same time.
I agree. I always say a lot of people have different motivations when it comes to sun safety. For some people, it's because they have their own history with skin cancer or a family member or a friend, and other people just want to age gracefully. And I always say, whatever your motivation is, use that to stay sun safe.
Definitely. I
So I
agree
want
100%.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit more into the business side. And as you and I both know, the startup hustle never ends. So I want to dive into that and let's talk a little bit about the business side of creating SPF.
Yes. So, well, it's not for the faint of heart. I've told many people that instead of saying it's the death of me, I say it's the gray hair of me.
That's
um,
great.
yes. So, yes, that's another subject. Yeah. You know what is anything from choosing a name to having it FDA approved. There was
Mhm.
definitely some setbacks. SPF was not the first name. I think the very first name that I wanted it was Sun Love. And of course, there, just all the things about naming a business, from trademarking to getting your domain name and having a business, getting it incorporated. So that was really tough, was picking a name, because you really want it to emulate your brand, and it's going to all be encompassed into one. So once we settled on a name and we went to trademark it and everything, it all obviously worked out. But I just loved Espieve, how it was a play on words, and it was just simple and sleek to me. And formulating was definitely not easy. I went to a lab. Actually, there was many labs that I went to that would not even take on my idea and bring it into fruition, because they did not work with the FDA.
Interesting.
So all sunscreens have to be FDA approved. And a lot of labs would not work with me because they didn't want to work with the FDA. So that was, you're like, okay, you're being told no and no. And then you're thinking to yourself, am I even supposed to do this?
Yeah.
So then I found a lab, and they would work with me, and the cosmetic formulator and everybody there was wonderful. And 2020 hit, and they shut down and only started making hand sanitizer.
Oh gosh.
So we were back to square one when they reopened, and had to start over and start reformulating. And we reformulated a few different times. I think I don't even know how many times. It was probably 7 or 8 times before the formula that we came up with and we were both happy with, and then would pass FDA. So there were a few formulas that we liked, but didn't pass FDA approval. So we had to go back and reformulate. So it wasn't just like, oh, here's the formula, let's go, let's put it out on the shelves.
Yeah, it's never like that.
No. And I was pretty lucky with the packaging and sustainability. That was probably the easiest part. Packaging, I didn't have any problem finding packaging suppliers and what I liked. So knock on wood, that's all been pretty easy.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think for FDA approval, I'm sure a lot of people are curious what exactly goes into, creating a sunscreen that can be FDA approved.
Well, there's a lot of different testing that needs to be done. So I'll just name a few. For example, it has to have a shelf life, and it's still, even now that we are FDA approved and we are out on the market, that first run of sunscreen has to sit and stay photostable for 2 years. So even though, and it will get retested again to make sure that its efficacy is there. But there's a patch test to make sure that you don't burn. There's testing to test the exact number of SPF is in there. So that's your sun protection factor. What else? Oh gosh, there's so many. I'd have to go down my breakdown. I say that I'm the orchestra, and I orchestrate everything. And I've got people behind me that are like crazy chemists and the crazy lab people that they do all the work. I just have the idea, and I'm the orchestrator. The maestro, and they bring it all together for me. So I can't take credit for all of that. I can just take credit for the idea that I had.
Those are great examples of what to look for. I don't have sunscreen, we're UPF apparel, which is a little bit different, but still a lot of the same processes go into place for getting fabric certified and making sure it has the protection that it says it is as sunscreen. But even so, sunscreen is its own beast, and skincare and beauty products are truly its own beast in itself.
Oh, definitely. And there are so many different products out on the market. So I always say to, don't trust other people that say, oh, this is perfect for my skin, because it might not be perfect for your skin. Always, my biggest concern, my biggest thing is, if you're buying a sunscreen, just turn it over and read the label. And that's the same thing with your makeup and your foundation. A lot of foundations do have the chemicals in them. Like people will say, like, oh, my foundation has sunscreen in it. But do you know what that blocker is? What that ingredient is? So I always say, just turn it over, read the box, read the packaging.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yes, just to get familiar with a few of the active ingredients that are good for your skin, and a few that are definitely disruptors.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about your products. I know you guys have a tinted and non-tinted face sunscreen. What other products do you all offer?
So we have tinted sunscreen that's for the face that comes in 3 different shades, and that's an SPF of 35. That's a titanium dioxide based and does have 4 color perfecting minerals in there to add extra protection. And then a non-tinted sheer mineral, which is a 20% zinc that goes on clear. And we also have our spray sunscreen. And that was my baby. That was the one that I designed for Carson. So that
Oh,
was the one that I think is really easy for moms to use. You spray it on, and then I even have a sunscreen brush that goes with it, and you just brush it right in. Kids love it, moms love it. We also have a tinted lip balm that has a kiwi lime flavor, and that's zinc oxide as well. So that does not leave your lips that white film.
right. Right.
Yes,
Something we all try and avoid. We all know that white cast all too well.
I know, but it's honestly the best sunscreen for you and for the environment because it doesn't have the effects of harming the coral reefs. So, I mean, you're in Florida, and I know down in the Keys, I'm pretty sure it's the Keys they do a lot of snorkeling.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got all those coral reefs down there, and you just want to make sure that we protect them.
Yeah, something super interesting you bring up the coral reefs is I know I had family members who went on a cruise last summer and they were kind of all throughout the islands and like the BVIs and the US Virgin Islands. And they actually on the cruise ship banned sunscreen because in the areas that or I'm sorry, chemical sunscreens, because in the areas
Yes.
that they were going to, they weren't allowed because of the coral reefs.
Yeah, it's really it's the benzenes, pretty
Hmm.
much are, I think, the biggest disruptor of the coral reefs, if I'm not mistaken. But um, yeah, they're killing off those ecosystems.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that we still have those ecosystems in place. So all of our sunscreens are reef friendly.
Yes, I love it. And I also wanted to talk about, true skin rituals. I am very curious if you have a lot of people who come in who are focused on anti-aging and like reversing those signs of aging, but aren't wearing sunscreen. Do you see cases like that from time to time?
Where I am, I'm located in Orange County, California, and right in Costa Mesa, so right on the borderline of Newport Beach. So we
Hmm.
get a lot of beach goers, a lot of tennis players, golfers. And I feel now that where we are, most clients do wear sunscreen. And I think it's just of where we live. I do know like people that come into town, they are like, oh, I just, only wear it on my face when I'm going out to the beach. So most people are, I think the wave is changing, the tide is turning. People are starting to wear it more on their face, not just when they're sunbathing or out um, doing a sport. So I feel like the times are changing where people are a little bit more receptive to wearing sunscreen, at least on their face during the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of the same as well of what you're saying, Jamie, that people are starting to at least acknowledge the fact that that is a really important step in your daily skincare routine. I know I've seen so many articles from dermatologists that have come out over the course of the winter saying, like, do not put the sunscreen away, keep wearing it.
Yes. And I always say at the, beginning of sun season, whether that's April or May in wherever you are, what part of the country, or if it's more June, July, always always the time to turn over your bottle of sunscreen if it's from last year, see if it's expired,
Yeah.
or get out the beach bag, go through those sunscreens, look to see if there's just a little bit left, toss it. Just go
Hmm.
buy a fresh bottle. It's time. Let's replace it. Let's not get burned from it sitting a year in a dark closet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that so many of us don't think about. I mean, I have heard so many stories of people who grew up having basically the same bottle of sunscreen under their counter for years and years and years. And we're finally getting some information about the fact that, maybe it's time to toss those bottles of sunscreen.
Yes. Yes. Just replace it yearly, replace them yearly. if you aren't going through it fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
But you should at least use I think it's gosh, I don't want to get this one wrong, but like the one of the health or a medical person on the internet,
Okay.
government issued. They say that you need 1 ounce of sunscreen for your whole body. So if you have an 8-ounce bottle of sunscreen, that's only 8 days
Yeah.
of wear.
Right.
If you think about it that day.
Yeah.
Or that way. So, I mean, a lot of us don't put on enough sunscreen.
Yeah. Agreed. It's so fascinating.
And to reapply every 2 hours.
Yes, right. So that's a huge one too, that a lot of people are starting to learn about that reapplication. It's not just about applying it, it's about reapplying it. And like you mentioned, creating that spray sunscreen specifically for your son Carson in mind was that as a parent, it is so hard to track down your kids and get them to wear sunscreen and remember to reapply. So having products like that kind of take the thought, it's an easy spray, go, make sure it's rubbed in everywhere it needs to go, takes a lot of the stress out of that for parents.
Definitely. And with it being a spray, it is not an aerosol spray. It is actually a trigger spray. Let me see if I have one. There's one right in the back, right there. But it has a little trigger. So you spray it on. It doesn't have any harmful chemicals coming up from the aerosol either. So it really is good for the environment as well. And you can be, as a parent, rest assured that, you're not going to get those harmful aerosol, like little inhalants.
Yeah, it's multi benefit, of course. So just out of curiosity, so because you own a sunscreen brand and you have a skincare studio, what is the most common misconception you hear when it comes to sun safety?
Oh, let's see. I would probably say like, oh, I put it on in the morning. I put it on in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
And I don't need it because it has it in my makeup. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
I don't like it because it burns my eyes.
Mm.
So or I don't like it because of the way it feels.
Okay.
That's probably what I hear the most.
That is a
about
big one.
Sunscreen.
How it feels is a big one.
Yes. And so all of our sunscreens don't have a scent. I should take that back. Our tinteds do have a scent. It's a light vanilla citrusy scent that I've been told it smells like a warm pillow.
Okay.
From an 8-year-old.
Oh, that's great.
And it says, "Mommy, can I wear your Auntie Jamie sunscreen? It smells like a warm pillow."
That's so cute.
Whenever we want to know what a warm pillow scent is, we've got it.
There you go.
But the tinted, it is the only one with a scent, and it actually is a very nice scent. And I haven't had one complaint about the scent of that. And then all of our other sunscreens don't have a scent, and they don't leave you greasy or sticky.
Mm-hmm. Those are huge. I mean, I am sure when you did all of your research and asking questions while formulating the sunscreen brand, probably a lot of the things you heard were about, I don't want to feel sticky. I don't want it to rub off on my clothes. Like these are huge blockers that keep people from wearing sunscreen, is because it smells, it makes us feel gross, it makes us feel sticky. And like, we don't want that rubbing off on our nice clothes, which is why a lot of people don't wear it with their nicer day-to-day outfits. And it normally finds its way onto, bathing suits and activewear gear. And that's really the only time a lot of people think about wearing it, because they don't want to feel gross or smell, which is totally fair.
Right. So we definitely took all that into consideration and into account when we were making Espieve. We want everybody to feel like it's your daily lotion.
Yeah.
Putting on your daily lotion or your daily makeup. And a lot of people have told me that they've stopped wearing foundation and all they're using is the tints because it's so nice. And I say moisturize, color, and protect in one quick step.
Awesome. I fall into that category of I only wear my tinted moisturizer, and it is, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I have to say, I like the La Roche-Posay one, but that's probably because I haven't tried your product yet. So I wasn't able to compare them, but I have worn that as my daily foundation for probably a year now, and it's great.
Yeah. And tinted sunscreens are the best, and find one that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because it goes back to the fact that something that might work for someone else might not work for you, and vice versa. And that is okay.
Right.
That's why there are so many fantastic brands out there with options.
And probably my number one would be don't listen to TikTok.
Okay. That's great.
Don't listen to that TikTok influencer
Uh-huh.
because what works for their skin might it's definitely not going to work for yours.
Yep, that's so funny. I was just having a conversation about that the other day, which a lot of like TikTok influencers, which absolutely nothing wrong with it. I find some great products
No.
from that. But on the flip side, if they're being paid to promote something, it's a little bit trickier to take that advice um as word. So buy things if you want to try it. Try it. If it doesn't work, that's okay. That brand just might not be for you and try another one.
Yes, exactly.
Well, perfect. Well, I know, Jamie, people are going to listen to this episode and they are going to want to connect with you and learn more. So, can you share your website and share your Instagram and all the places that people can connect with you?
Definitely, definitely. Well, you can find SPF online at spf.com, and that's Espieve. You can also find us on Instagram. It's SPF, Espive, with an underscore SPF. You can find me, True Skin Rituals. That's TruSkinRituals, and that's across all platforms except TikTok.
No TikTok.
I just can't dance yet.
That's totally fine. That's totally fair. And then what we also want to do is when this episode goes live, we are going to also launch a giveaway for people to win sun safety resources from you as well.
Yes, definitely. So be on the lookout for that. I will probably just tag you in it. And if anybody wants to comment and like and share and follow, we can't wait to connect with you.
Well, perfect, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time again. This was such a great conversation, so many nuggets of wisdom, and I hope listeners come and check out your sunscreen.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.